Hey, welcome to the Dad Voice Podcast. I'm Cole.
I'm Phil, and this is the secrets of Dadlife. What I wish I knew, what I wish other dads maybe were thinking, or maybe they're not thinking. I don't know.
Honestly, there's a lot of not thinking going on in being a dad.
Very nice way of saying, do we share all the same fears and issues
and thoughts and I think.
Yeah.
I think you'll find out.
Yeah.
We do.
This is a clickbaity way of saying it.
Yeah, there's just, so hopefully I got you. But no, I think that this is a good subject to talk about, especially, we'll try our best not to get too heavy with it, but I think that every single parent, not just dad, but every parent I've ever spoken to has given me a laundry list of things that they're like, man, I did so many things wrong. And
you're not talking about Googleable things like, oh, I was putting their shirt on backwards wrong the whole time. You mean steps along the way, right. I did something wrong, I said something, things like that. Or
I think
I should have been thinking a certain way.
I think one thing that I've spoken about it early in our, I think in our first 2 or 3 episodes I mentioned it, but one thing that haunts me, so I'll start with this so people kind of understand what I mean at least. But when I had my first child, I was working third shift, I was coming back, my wife had been at home with the baby all night, I needed to give her a break, so I'd come in, I'd lay with the baby, and we lived in this one little 1-bedroom studio apartment. There's no space or anything. And so I was frazzled, I was tired, I was exhausted. It was a few months in, and the baby had started kicking and making it, maybe it was a little closer to a year at this point. But the baby was just kicking and making it hard to change his diaper. So I leaned in to kind of get a better view or angle to wrap it around him. And he kicked me right in the jaw. And I reflexively went and just tapped his thigh. Some people, and I don't say tapped his thigh to undersell what I did. It haunts me. Obviously, this is 8 years later, and I remember that particular event. It corrodes at my mental health sometimes, because I'm like, did I just completely ruin everything for me and my son in that moment? And the short answer is no. I love him, and he loves me, and we're great, and we hang out, and we have fun, we play video games together, it's awesome. But I have never hit my kids, aside from that one moment. And I don't believe in hitting your kids. I will say that every once in a while we'll have to pop a hand. We don't have to do it with the 8-year-old, but more of a don't touch that hot stove and aggressively brush the hand away.
A swift grab.
Right,
too.
Yeah. So that's more of what it is. It's more like a snatch, but it's perceived the same way. Most of the time it's
more calculated, this is going to hurt them maybe a little bit, but much less than touching a hot stove.
Right. Yeah. 3rd-degree burns or hurt feelings kind of thing. But that's not what that was. This was my baby that had no idea. He was just kicking. He just figured out how his legs work. And he got me in the jaw, and I reflexively swatted him. And
he had a moment of primal frustration.
I did.
You let your primal self come out a little bit, and you do still feel bad about that.
Yeah.
And you're ashamed that you let something that you cognitively know we shouldn't do happen.
For the record, he didn't even notice it. He didn't react at all to it.
Yeah, I don't think he remembers.
But I went to my
If
therapist.
He does, he has one of those miracle memories.
Yeah.
And
I don't remember anything
we can just be way worse and figure out how to profit off that.
Yeah. We'll just do awful things, and he'll be like, I remember all
Buddy,
of it.
popping your child, we can do way worse.
I did.
We could have been dance moms.
Oh, God. I watched 2 episodes of that show, and I was like, holy shit.
We had a group that would get together and watch that in college. It was a very early 2010s thing. It was just watching that in college.
At least we're not doing that. That's what I'll say.
See? Look at that. We're absolved.
We are.
I threw a subset of women under the bus and we move on. We're just podcasters.
There
We're
we
perfect.
go. There we go. But I did go to my therapist after that because I do go to therapy. Like it's and I know that luckily for millennials and Gen Z, like a lot more parents and men
Yeah.
have been going to therapy, but like
It's more accessible with like the mobile therapy and stuff too.
and like being able to do it teledoc and stuff like that. That's really beneficial.
And I guess it still doesn't count that I use ChatGPT. I think
No.
it doesn't count. I'm not going to tell people I'm going to therapy and it turns out I'm just talking to a server farm in Utah or whatever.
ChatGPT is not your therapist.
All right.
So
when people are asking, "Are you doing better?" I can't be like, "Yeah, I've been going to therapy."
Well, you can go to therapy and you're a psychologist, man.
Yeah.
You have a degree in this shit. Honestly, even if you just read your book and just try to figure out what's going on with yourself, like, come on, man.
Oh God, is that why I went to school for psychology?
Hey, that's another alternative. Go to school for psychology. Figure out why your brain does what it does. But no, I went to therapy after that, and my therapist was even like, hey, I think you're overinflating the situation in your head. Sounds like what you did was negative, but I'm not calling Child Protective Services on you right now.
Right now.
I think you're okay. And
You're leaving the door open to it? You get aggressive all of a sudden. You're like, okay, never mind. I've read that wrong.
And then she gave me the tools to do better and to like, hey, to just not react as reflexively. And she had like 2 kids, the therapist does with the time. And she was like, that reflex is still there for the first couple of years, honestly. Like you just have to kind of let your parental instinct override your natural reflective tendencies to respond in ways like that. Because like, if I was wrestling a dog, my mom's a dog groomer. I used to work in her shop all the time before we fell out and when I was a kid in high school. And I would pick up these massive dogs, like, a bull mastiff, and I'm putting them in the bathtub and it'll headbutt me and I'll just pop it on the butt and be like, hey, stop it. That kind of thing. It's different. You can't just do that with a kid, even if it kicks you in the jaw, right? Yeah.
This is going to sound... I'm just thinking of a very hyper-specific reason why. Well, like, your therapist was like, no, that's a reflex. You do that for the first couple of years. It's like maybe, evolutionarily, back when, we were Neanderthals, whatever, your baby's crying, you got to make them stop real quick because predators could be, like, out there.
Well, so, I think about that all the time, too. I'm like, sitting here.
And then you're sitting there thinking, you're like, am I justifying, like, child abuse? It's like, no, it's just a thought.
Right. Because I just always wonder, like, I don't know if you're the same way, but if your baby, I know there will be other dads out there that feel this way. If your baby cries for too long, too loudly, whatever, it hits that hair in your brain that makes you irritable and agitated. And I think that is that evolutionarily, like the baby needs to shut the fuck up so the pack of wolves doesn't find us. And
I think part of being a good dad is just being aware of that. You're already off to a good start. Being aware that you might have these snap moments almost. And just being aware of those is already a good first step to not engaging with those impulses.
And I will say that that's probably my most extreme, and I talk about it because it does haunt me. And I know some dads are like, what a wuss, like, I did way worse things to my kids are fine. The secret that I have discovered is that if you constantly work to make things better for your kid than they were for you, you'll do a pretty good job.
That's a good starting point. That is a good base to go off of.
First off, my dad was... my relationship with my father is tricky because throughout my life, first off, he's my adopted father. He did adopt me legally. My biological father, never met the dude. I think I know his name, but not even really. So, hey, if there's a guy in Texas looking for a kid and you think I kind of look like you hit me up, whatever. But I just really need to know family medical history if we can get that sorted out. It's my shout out to some dude in Texas.
Please, if you might be his father. He's
Do we have a history of heart disease? Comment below.
I tried. He was like, I told my algorithm to stop promoting that podcast. I never got to see it.
So my relationship with my adopted father is tricky. I didn't know my biological father. And it's only tricky because, like, my mom and my dad were parents that were never supposed to, like, they just didn't get along. And I hate to say that. Some parents out there, like, I'm sure there are single dads who will watch this. I'm sure there are single moms who will watch this. I'm sure there are parents that are struggling with their relationship right now that will watch this. And let me be the first to say, if you guys are struggling and you're fighting in front of the kids and it's very clear, be very real with yourselves and sit down and say, hey, we need to assess this relationship and find out if it's working before we can never be friends again and make our kids' lives hell, because that's what happened to me, and that strained the relationship I had with my father. My father is a good man. He's a working man. He has put his heart and soul into everything he's done, and he has only ever done it for family, and he is a good man. But because of everything that happened amongst my parents' divorce, and we moved a lot when we were younger, and there was just constantly like this state of trying to find our peace where we are and trying to maintain peace within their relationship, and it poisoned the relationship I had with my dad for a while, because I was a mama's boy for quite a while. And you know, my mom, I've spoken about this several thousand times on this podcast. My relationship with my mom doesn't exist anymore. I have completely cut her off. I haven't spoken to her in like a decade. And there's plenty of reason behind it. But back then, before I realized what was going on with that, my mom was constantly doing this thing where she was, you know, hey, your dad doesn't want to see you, whatever, like, you know, just constantly telling us things that I found out later weren't true. And the only way to combat stuff like that, and the only way to ensure that you have a stronger relationship with your kids, is to always let them know. And it doesn't always look like just telling your kids, hey, I love you. You're a good guy or girl, whatever, non-binary. Hey, I accept you, whatever. Sometimes it's just being there. Just, hey, you look really sad. You don't have to talk about it, but if you want, you can just come sit with dad and I'll just hold you. And your kids are never too old to hold them. And I've figured out what that means. When my dad said it to me, I was like, whatever, old man. But
Get out, you're pushing him off. You're like, whatever, Dad.
I get it now because, you know, like there are moments where I've become this callous man who has fallen into the trap of, like, you know, society's perfect view of masculinity, and I find I find myself oftentimes like having to rope myself back in and go, no, stop fighting this. Allow yourself a moment to feel what you need to feel. And allow yourself to miss that moment with your father. Allow yourself to want your dad. And the thing is, like, if you do this parenting thing right, you will find out that your kids just rely on you, and that's a good sign. And I come from a broken home, obviously. I just talked about this. All I want for my kids, and this is the point I was trying to make, that's what led to that tangent about my history with my parents. But like, my whole objective as a father is to just improve on what my dad did. I still love my dad. I still look for his guidance all the time. I sometimes get trapped in the thought that he's getting older, and it like causes anxiety. Like, I love him, and I want my son to not the anxiety part, but to have that same love for me, if not stronger, and also have that basis where he feels like I can talk to my dad about anything. And there's a lot to be said about accepting your children for who they are, And that might need to be a different episode because unfortunately there are uncomfortable
That'd be a
topics.
big topic.
Yeah.
That's a big one.
But recognizing that your kids are their own individual people and you cannot make them your cookie cutter thing. I wish I would have known more about like, hey, that's not what you're supposed to do. And I wish I would have understood in the long term that it's so much better. It would have been so much better for me if I would have had parents that gave that same respect of, hey, let me let you be you and let me just meet you where you're at and understand you as a child and understand that you're not going to be exactly like me and that's okay. So that's my little spiel on it. I'll let you talk a little bit because I feel like I always monologue on this shit.
In a similar vein, I feel like a lot of dads probably deal with this, and many are probably lying to themselves if they say they're not. Just imposter syndrome and just feeling like I'm not a real dad. Like sometimes you're like, am I just like this goofy dude who like makes this little girl laugh sometimes and like logs a certain number of diaper changes? Like, am I like you still feel like an imposter? You're like, I'm not a dad, but you are, dude. You're doing the stuff. Like, I don't know. Sometimes you just don't feel like you are, and you're like obviously second guessing every single thing you do, and you're like, how's this gonna go down the road? And yeah, dealing with imposter syndrome is a tough one.
One thing that I will say is like I deal with imposter syndrome in every aspect of my life because I've talked about this before at work. I'm the lowest man on our security team, and everyone above me are eggheads, like super brilliant guys and just great at what they do. They have a ton of experience under their belt. The youngest guy on our team, I would put him above me, and he's a junior analyst like me, but he is just, he's got his bachelor's, which, you know, I have a bunch of degrees, but not a bachelor's in cyber yet. He's got his certifications and stuff, and he seems more put together than I do. So I constantly live in a state of imposter syndrome there. And then I go and I get into parenting, and I sit there and go, I'm constantly at war with myself. Sitting there going, why was I ever supposed to be a parent? Like, I also, and I think I'm finding out that a lot of parents actually are feeling this sense of guilt lately too, where I look at the world and I go,
how could you bring someone into this world? The world's always sucked. That's the thing they don't tell you about.
And then, you know, I realize
we're just more aware of sucky things going on because we can be now.
I realize, like, you know, I talk to parents or you know, parents from our parents' generation of, I was talking to a buddy of mine. He went into the Marine Corps for a few years, and I was talking to his parents about it, and I was like, what, you know, because neither of his parents served. And he wanted to do, you know, we talked about this in the last, I think, Dad Blast, not the one, the first Dad Blast. Okay. We talked about this there, but there was this big sense of patriotism after 9/11, and a lot of our generation enlisted in the military, kind of riding on that wave. And he said, you know, I mean, he's a Marine, hoorah, big ass dude, like, and he saw combat, like he's a badass, and I love him and respect him. But even he says, like, you know, he will never blatantly say, I regret my time in the military. He's like, if I would have assessed my decision, like my options a little more.
He gave it the whole corporate speak.
Yeah, like maybe I would have made a different decision. And I talked to his parents, and his parents were like, we didn't want this. Like, we went through several wars. And then I realized at that point, by having that conversation with them, we've all had our version of what we think is the end of the world. And while we narrow that scope down and it looks more and more realistic as we get through, because the earth is on fire and the political state of everywhere is a mess, and there's wars all over the place, we have no hope of changing the future for the better if we don't raise the future to be that hope.
Yeah.
And that is the one thing that has quelled my...
No pressure or anything.
Right. Right.
No pressure.
You should all be raising the next president. No. It's not like that, though. Because no matter how small you think you are in the grander scheme of things, one little drop in the bucket is all it takes to overflow, right? And so if we make our little drops the
or
best,
dad blasts
or dad blasts, if we make our little drops the best that we can make them, and just like, this is why in our first dad blast I was talking about, I spent a lot of time railing on how I don't like, it's sometimes it's best not to bring your kids into politics. The first thing you need to focus on is making your children good. That's it. And unfortunately, not everybody's going to have a good kid. Unfortunately, most parents, if you're watching this, I would say you have a great chance. But there are parents out there who don't care. And there are parents out there that, and you will run into their kids. You will. And I say that because I was one of those kids. I was a broken child when I was in high school. I was pissed off at the world. I had so much angst and fear and hurt in my heart, and nobody was there to teach me how to move through with it. And nobody was there for the longest time because I wasn't able to access my father. I didn't have that access to a parent that would have been able to sit there and go, hey, I give a shit and let's help you get through this, because I was kept away from my father for so long. But I knew really good kids, and their families were so good.
And their families didn't judge the kid.
They didn't judge me at all. I remember...
And we need those people.
I was a delinquent. I smoked cigarettes from like 12 to 22. I smoked cigarettes for like 10 years, okay? And it's insane that...
And he had a leather jacket.
I did. I was...
and a motorcycle.
I was the bad boy in our school, you remember.
Yeah.
I was not. I was a nerd.
I wore pink polos.
Hell yeah. We fist fought all the time, and it's crazy that we're podcasting together.
He actually just beat the shit out of me. He's like, it's flagpole time, buddy.
Oh, here we go.
He's like, one day you're gonna do a podcast for me, or the beatings continue, and then now here we are.
Here we are.
Yeah,
and we've made our peace, though. You know, this is the Peaceful Dads podcast.
We have made our peace, Cole.
But no, I was like, I bring up the smoking thing because I remember one time I asked my buddy. I was out of cigarettes, and I asked my buddy, I was like, listen, man, like, I've been sleeping outside for 3 days. Do you think you could, it's Friday night, do you think you could ask your mom if I can spend the night? And he was like, yeah, of course. And I'm not gonna shout him out. His family's been through a lot the last few years, and I just don't want to say
And it all started with you.
Thankfully, no.
Cataclysm.
Thankfully, no. But I just remembered that moment of kindness from his mother where she was like, I should not be doing this. This is the main reason I said I'm not shouting anybody's name.
She did something slightly illegal.
But she was like, do you want me to go buy you a pack of cigarettes? And I was like, I would love nothing. There was a whole conversation before this.
It seems like she genuinely knew what someone in your situation just actually really wants right now.
Yeah.
Like, because I feel like a lot of time with like unhoused folk and stuff, people panhandling, it's, they have to play the game of being like, no, it's for something healthy or whatever. Like, dude, sometimes it is for a cigarette, and that would just make that person feel better for a couple minutes.
I've gotten into the habit of, I used to do that thing.
I've definitely given people cigarettes before, too. Yeah, way back in the day when I smoked. I was like, I know what you actually want right now. Let's just cut to the chase.
Once you get away from being unhoused for a minute, you get this like sense of pride, like I'll never be back there again. I conquered it, and then you kind of get this undeserved sense of arrogance, and you go to homeless people, and you're like, hey, you gonna use this for drugs or alcohol? And they're like, no, and you're like, I don't believe you. I'm gonna buy you food instead. just give them the fucking money, dude. Like, just give them. They just need it. They just need a break. And she got that. But and that ended up being and she like made the joke too. She was like, my son doesn't think that I know he smokes cigarettes, but I know he does. And she was like, we'll have that conversation soon, but today's not the day.
Don't give any to him.
Right.
She gives you a whole pack. She's sitting there going.
She was like, this isn't going to be a repeat thing, but like I can tell that you're
down bad.
You're
she
having
knows what you need.
A rough row here. So she bought me a pack of cigarettes.
She knows what it takes to bring up morale.
And then
she's a true leader.
She does. And then the next day, she brought me a book bag and some clothes.
Full of cigarettes.
Full of cigarettes.
It escalates to her backing up a dump truck. She's like, honey, you're cigarettes, sweet boy.
The Newport truck just backing up.
Turns out she's been using you to get the points this whole time. She's finally got a Newport jacket.
Oh, man, those Newport jackets. A buddy of mine found one in Goodwill one time.
Dude, they're worth a lot. The vintage cigarette memorabilia.
Oh, yeah.
With
all of them.
Cross-posted or whatever with NASCAR. Woo!
Yeah, you're
absolute fire,
man.
dude.
You know about it.
We have hobbies here in the South. And fashion. Get used to it.
Tobacco Road, baby. That's where we're at. But no, she bought me a backpack the next day. Couple pairs of jeans, some new shirts, and she was like, listen, I'm not going to make you stay if you don't want to, but we have an extra room. We have a guest bed. It's got a Marlboro Reds bed sheet, like a comforter that looks like a pack of Marlboro Reds.
There's a kid that passed away in that bed like the week before that from lung cancer.
She is a fucking exec for RJ Reynolds.
She's like Sandra Bullock in The Blind Side. She just uses like broken teenage boys to get cigarette reward points and NASCAR memorabilia. All right, sorry, I had to take a serious moment.
No, that's what. This is why we do best together.
I started picturing you as the guy from The Blind Side, and I was like, dude, that's
me just
part of my brain is like, I gotta say it.
Lumbering down the street, smoking a smooth Marlboro Red, and it cuts to a commercial. She hops out of the van with a camera, and she's like, all right, can we say that again? But then, instead of saying, I'm cold and wet from the rain, say, I'm just out here enjoying the smooth taste of Marlboro Reds.
And we'll hold an umbrella over the cigarette, but not you.
Yeah.
So it
I'm still soaking wet, and it just...
Make them think it works in the rain.
Oh, but no. A shout out to her. If
she did not blindside Cole.
That I know
it was out of...
have.
Yeah.
But this was like my junior year, I think, in high school. And I stayed with them for a few weeks until my dad finally stepped in. And then my dad actually helped out.
He was like, I have a son.
Oh, shit.
Oh, we right.
No, he actually...
Where the hell has he been? Staying with y'all. Thank you.
He lived an hour away. We worked out a deal with them, and my dad was paying them each week to like... Hey, I wish my son would have told me sooner, but here's some money to just keep up. And my dad would come and see me, like, every weekend I would go live with him, and I'd get to be with him on the weekends.
He's like, son, you've been smoking a lot lately. You have a raspy voice.
I'm just bringing him Marlboro Red hats.
Yeah, he's like, ooh, that's a lady's bribe.
Oh, a camel jacket? I'll take that.
Yeah, son, you sound great.
My dad also was kind of like in the same boat with that shit too. He was like, I really wish you'd stop, but
yeah,
I can't be there for you all the time, so just make good choices. And obviously I did not, but
we'll see if you have a conscience. You'll have my voice in your head saying make good choices, and if you don't, that's on you, man.
Yeah, all right.
My conscience is clean. I told you.
I've washed my hands.
It's your fault.
He did what he could for us, and I remember that, and he looked really upset when I first came to him about it, and he was like...
About the living with the people without his permission? You've been living with another family?
Not without his permission. The fact that he didn't realize that just before that. I'd been
that's
sleeping on the
hurt.
street, and he didn't even realize that my mom had kicked me out.
Okay.
And he never got that information.
That's gotta feel shitty. It's like, oh, I didn't know where my son was.
Well, and it wasn't his fault, though. And I had to, as an adult, explain to him, like, Mom did that shit every other week.
Yeah, that's pretty big for someone's life.
Pretty heavy shit. But all that being said, my dad did what he could. He was there for me as much as he could possibly be.
He course corrected after he realized that.
Well,
that's
as soon
good.
as he did, that's the thing.
That's a good thing. You can always like come back from.
Right. Sorry. And I might cut some of that story out because this is not about me, but there's a lot of information about me and why I feel the way I do about my kids in that story. So it is what it is. But I never want that shit to ever... I can't remember the connection I made from imposter syndrome to that, but I know there was one that I was trying to make.
He course corrected.
He did.
And I guess part of getting over imposter syndrome is knowing you have it in the first place.
Well,
knowing you're dealing with it.
And the thing about it is, I constantly think that I am in that position where, like, am I doing what's best for my kids? Am I making the right decisions? And, like...
You're like, am I sprinkling my broken kid shit onto them?
Right. Am I making my kid someone
But the
who
fact
will
that you're
be...
aware that you shouldn't do that means you aren't. You're doing a good job.
There we go. And that's I do take solace in that fact.
Yeah.
And it's heavy. And there's so many men who will never tell you about the horrible things that have happened to them in their life. And
yeah,
they'll go there. Sorry, I'm going to adjust here. They'll go their entire lives and you'll never know. And like everything about how men experience the world is so different than how women experience the world. And
you never see like scenes in media and stuff of like two construction workers just standing there and they're like, so you fear the void too?
yeah.
You insecure about what happens after you die? You know,
and
yeah,
that's in our entire lives. We are taught that masculinity, and this is why like big roided out alpha dudes will be on there and be like, there's nothing toxic about masculinity. And it's like, if you just shut up, you find out that that's not what we mean by toxic masculinity. But toxic masculinity is a problem among dads. And it's that thing that makes you like revert to this shut in person that can't talk about it.
I can't be seen being soft around my kids, my wife, blah, blah, blah.
But I will tell you and anybody else who's interested in hearing all day long, being vulnerable is important to teach your kids how to do that, because we need to teach them how to be functioning adults. You teaching your kids to shut it out, I guarantee you, if that's what you're teaching your kids, you have that same problem, and I guarantee you that it is creating tension in some place or another with your interpersonal relationships, whether that be with your spouse or significant other or at work.
You're making a basis of a relationship withholding information too. That's not a good basis to
and you don't want to teach your kids that, because here's the thing. So many bad things happened to me when I was a kid, and I never told my parents about it, because that sense of trust and that sense of you need to talk to us about anything was not there. And horrible things happened to me. Like, when I was 14, I was physically involved with a 25-year-old woman, and I was never told.
That's not right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like, I was like...
You're like, oh, that's cool, man.
Yeah, most people would be like patting you on the back. If I found out my kid at 14 years old was involved with a 25-year-old woman, I'd go put the cuffs on her myself, and she'd be lucky if that's all I did. Because a predator is a predator is a predator. But I didn't realize that when I was a kid.
Yeah.
And because nobody ever told me you can talk to your parents about this stuff, I never said anything. And I still haven't said anything to them, because now it's too late. But I talked to my therapist. It's fine.
Yeah. You covered your bases. You talked to a therapist, and you got it out on a podcast.
That's right. We're good.
You're
I
good now.
on my boxes. But... and that's just one example. Like, there's so many bad things happen that I think about that I never told my parents. And I never, like, I would be so crushed if I found out those things happened to my kids and they didn't tell me because I didn't create an environment where they felt they could comfortably talk to me about things like that.
Right.
So I always encourage my children. I tell my kids, if you're mad at me, I want you to tell me you're mad at me. Do it respectfully because every person that you speak to deserves respect.
Do it respectfully, and be clear about why too.
Right. In that context,
give me feedback. Like it's basically like feedback. It's like, am I doing anything wrong? And
right,
you're allowed to at least try and say I am, but most likely I'm not. You're a child.
I should say
you're
that
wrong.
Every person you speak to deserves an initial attempt at respect. I also don't believe that you have to respect every person you talk to because there are some people that are just going to be shitheads to you. And I don't want my kids to think that they should just take their licking and like they still have to be polite.
Get stomped on.
Right. It's just not going to work out that way for them. I wouldn't take it. You're not going to have to take it. But at the same time, if you're upset with someone, try the peaceful solution first and just talk about it. That's like,
or at least try the peaceful solution in front of your kids.
Right.
Sometimes if the peaceful solution doesn't work,
you slip them a piece of paper that says "Meet me out back."
You hammer that out, not in front of the kids.
Right. And yeah, that's like the one secret that I wish like somebody would have revealed to me before we got,
You can talk about things.
You can.
Yeah.
You can teach your kids to be functional. You can teach, and here's a little bit different because like you have a young lady, and young ladies feel this social pressure to stay silent, and because you don't want to mess up a young man's reputation.
Yeah,
it's a different game, and I don't have a daughter, but I can tell you right now, if you're a dad who does that, fuck you. If you're a dad who's telling your daughter, like this is the business I stand on. If you're a dad who's telling your daughter that boys will be boys and she should be submissive or she should just let things slide, you're failing your daughter.
Take whatever.
Full stop. You are failing your daughter.
Stepped on. Yeah, and I encourage her to I'm like, tell me everything you're thinking at every moment. Like, I'm not discouraging her from doing the whole, asking why thing, because that is important. So, I encourage her. I'm not like, oh, God, it's annoying. She's in the why phase. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, why? Well, this is this way. And encouraging her to just say whatever's on her mind and I can just try and figure it out is good because from a functional perspective too, I'm able to know what she wants quicker and easier, and there's less friction and tantrums and stuff. So.
Right. And that goes back to our
So it's like, if you want to be pragmatic about it, being open with your kids has its functional purpose too.
It does. And, at the end of the day, you just also, if you can't get emotionally invested, think of it from a logical viewpoint, because I do this all the time. What will help my
sometimes
kid?
You have to.
What will help my kid succeed in the world without being a piece of shit? And how can I give them the tools to do that? That's a question you should ask yourself. Again, if you can't find it in your heart to, like, put your pride and your ego aside and emotionally connect with your kids, find out, go, hey, how can I help you become the best, most functional adult that I can produce? Because like I said earlier, we are building the future and we need our kids to improve upon things. And I think that is the number one job as a parent, is to just make a generational improvement. We lost one of our cameras, and I just had a feeling that was the case.
Deep State's trying to take us down.
Deep State's trying to take us down. If you want to know why, check out our most recent Dad Blast, or the second Dad Blast. But no, I had to fix the camera, so we're back. If you want to finish your point.
I think this will sound flippant, but it's so true. There's probably a lot of other dads our age who get that weird ass feeling where you're like, man, is it gay to talk to my children? Like, I swear to God, deep down, just the way society is, people get that little feeling where you're like, is it gay to open up to my children, talk to my children? No, it's not.
Chat, is it gay to be a father?
Yeah. just putting that out there, it's not. And if you have to look at it from a pragmatic perspective, because that emotional part of you is like, I don't want to be vulnerable, fine. It's pragmatic too. It helps the function of a household much better when you have open communication. So,
and that's
just if that helps.
I hope it does help.
We're just trying to touch lives here.
That's the reason that we do this is because we wanted to connect with people in our community. We wanted to touch base with the people that we feel like we resonate with the most. And again, in the dad blast, I do get political. I get that, and it probably alienates people a little bit. And I apologize to you directly for ruining our podcast, but
you made another formal apology.
There we go.
You're getting good at it.
I'm doing so good. I think that it's the inability for men to embrace their natural emotions and speak to people and have that sincere, desire to touch base with their kids and sit there and go like, hey, when you hurt, I hurt, or when things are bad for you, I am here for you. It's weird that people are like that. It's weird that we are, in such a state that men feel that way. But like, again, our goal is to improve on the world and not and improve things for our kids and give them the things that we weren't given and take accountability for yourself. Be like, you want to talk about masculinity?
It's okay.
Be a man.
Talk to them and be vulnerable.
Yeah, be a man and
it's all right.
Be emotional. You know what I mean? Like that to me, being able to be a badass and also be in touch with your emotions, that's about as masculine as you can get.
Yeah.
Because then you're not just this fucking pent up freak that's running around like, fucking, I hate everyone. And turns out that if you just investigate, like, and I see it all the time, dudes getting on there, there's a men's mental health crisis. And yeah, there is, of course. I'm not diminishing that. Yeah. And there's a whole
But it's
movement.
also gay to talk to my children.
Right.
Because this weird internet vibe makes me feel that way.
Yeah. And then like I see like there's groups of like single dads who are sitting there and like, I can't get my ex-wife to work with me on this. It's like, maybe because you don't know how to fucking speak to her in a real, and I'm not saying that that's the case for everyone. Sometimes it's the other person. But the only way to know that for sure is for you to figure your shit out first and understand, like, and you'll never go to a therapist and they won't ever just give you a stamp of approval and be like, you're cured, you're fixed. From the time you're born to the time you die, there will always be things that you have to mentally and emotionally work through, and therapy is a tool to help you do that.
And sometimes they hit you harder than others too.
Yeah. I'm sure
just because you're fine during one period doesn't mean you're not going to be not fine later on. So.
I'm sure if I went to my therapist today, she would be like, yeah, you're kind of like on this big anti-government thing. We need to talk about that.
Yeah.
But the last session I had with her,
imagine you sit down with your therapist. She's like, saw the podcast, concerned.
Yeah. Or she just emails me out of the blue. Hey, I've been watching the podcast. We need to talk.
I have some dad advice.
Yeah.
How do I talk to my client and tell him that I hate his podcast?
And he's slowly losing grip with reality. But yeah, I mean, talk to someone. And sometimes you can't afford therapy because God knows that mental health is barely considered health in this country. And we could get into the gun debate from that path. We could get into everything.
Yeah, you're going to go down. You're going to.
No, we're not. I'm not doing it. But it's because we live in a country that refuses to prioritize healthcare, especially mental health care. Sometimes you can't afford it. The best thing you can do is go talk to somebody that you confide in, someone that you trust, even if it's
just ChatGPT doesn't count.
ChatGPT doesn't count, Philip.
Yeah.
Stop trying to convince yourself, okay?
Yeah. I am. I'm just openly trying to convince myself.
He's like,
I'm talking to me.
If I say it enough times, I'll believe it. Okay. No. Find someone you can find. And here's the thing. Sometimes you'll find out that if you just talk to your buddy and instead of him going, how you been? You go, good, you? And he goes, good. If you just sit there and go, man,
just don't immediately trauma dump though.
Right. But if you just go, man, shit's just not been all right lately and I've been having a hard time.
He'll probably be like, me too.
Yeah. He'll probably be like, man,
no one's wanted to talk to me either.
I get it. And then you find out you have someone to talk to about this stuff.
Yeah.
And
give it a try.
And
talking.
It's really not that gay to talk about your emotions. It's not.
Or to your own children.
Or to your own children. Because one day your kids are going to come up to you and be like,
Dad, is it gay to talk to my parents?
It's gay to talk to my parent.
I don't know.
Son, daughter.
I'm not hip with this generation.
Child, everything is gay.
Yeah, everything now is.
You'll find out
under this administration, everything has been labeled gay.
That's right. So, we're all gay.
Doesn't matter now.
Just be there for your kids. That's it. That's the secret I wish I knew. Is like, and it's not that I'm not living that now. It's just that like nobody was there to sit there and go, listen, this is how I fucked up real bad. Okay, this is how I did good. This is the positives. All I have to reflect on is the relationship I had with my father, which, as I've explained in this episode, was very spaced out.
Watching game film isn't as fun when you lose, but you still have to do it.
That's right. You got to watch the highlight reel so you can learn what to do better next time.
Yeah, so address the things you've done wrong, and you can even tell your kids that. And you can show that you're fallible. Then they'll go on to realize that other people can be as well.
That's right. And here's the thing. If you want your kids to be able to acknowledge that they did wrong, they made a mistake, you have to show them by example, because for the first, 10, 15, 20 years of their life, they're going to base every decision, every behavior on what they learn from you.
You're a pretty big influence on them. Figure.
Believe it or not,
yeah.
When you have children, you are arguably the most important.
Even if they call you lame, they're still modeling themselves after you, whether they realize it or not.
It's true.
Yeah.
They might kick you in the shin and be like,
you have big pull. You got big power.
Your podcast is lamestream media. And get out
I can't wait for my daughter to do that.
Oh, man. I can't wait for my kids to go to school and be like, yeah, my dad's the podcast guy.
Yeah.
And then their friends are like, my dad watches your dad all the time. And this is all obviously fantasy because we have 56 subscribers.
56.
Oh, sorry, 56 subscribers on YouTube. So I don't think anybody's coming to my kid and being like, my dad watches your dad yet. But
percentages, they're looking good. Remember, we were fighting and scrapping for 42. Or 43.
We were
just like weeks ago.
Yeah, 2 weeks ago, I think.
Like, don't forget where we came from.
Yeah.
That was humbling.
It was. And shout out to everybody who has come since then, has been on the support train. I appreciate
our 14 alt accounts between us that we just haven't been telling each other about.
I just keep trying to make new ones, and Google's like, we know what you're doing.
You're like, dude, the podcast is going great. We just got another subscriber. We're just committing fraud on each other.
Oh, but no, we do. I don't want to take away from our real subscribers. Anyways,
exactly.
The fantasy is that I have that fantasy in my head where my kid's like, yeah, my dad's a podcast guy. And then one of his friends goes, man, my dad started watching that podcast and he's been really cool since he started watching that.
That would be great.
That would be such a cool thing to happen.
Yeah.
It is a wholesome
I can get
fantasy.
behind that.
Guys, not all of my fantasies are just power and overthrowing the government. Okay, sometimes and by the way, I know I'm like always on some aggressive political or something like that, but my fantasy.
Just go ahead and tell people that's not going to go away. Yeah. Just tell them now. Moving forward,
it is, but
we're not going to ask you to change.
You'll catch most of it in the Dad Blast.
Blasting away subscribers one by one.
those numbers tick down. By the time this comes out, we'll no longer be at 56. We'll be at 16. It'll be fine.
Your dad blasted them away.
But no, my fantasy is ultimately just to be able to prosper. Like that's, and I think that's what's crazy is I think that's what most people want. They just want to be able to live comfortably.
God forbid a man want to prosper.
Right. And it eats away at me to know that like our generation will struggle with that most.
Because AI will take every job and blah blah blah, and I could just start catastrophizing from there.
Right. But I think I don't have to say the quiet part out loud.
I'm a dad. I don't worry about anything. That's right.
Day,
I don't have worries.
That's right. We just
I don't talk about it.
Stuff it down inside and don't ever talk about it. Yeah, we've come full circle. We've completely just negated everything we said before now. So
part of being a dad.
It is part of being a dad. We're getting close to the end. We do have a few more minutes that we have to make up for because of our camera issue. Which again,
it's not an episode if we didn't have one though.
Oh man,
it's like our watermark. It's like you'll see at the 47-minute mark of nearly every episode. There's a weird cut because something happened. Either that one guy had to pee, or he lost memory, or something died. It's our watermark.
It's just one of those things. It is what it is. We're figuring it out. This is all DIY. You guys know that. We're using 2 iPhones, 2 ring lights, and
we're doing a damn good job of it.
And
look at us.
We manage it.
Look at us.
I think we're doing great.
Yeah. I've never been known as like an eye for production or design or anything, and I think this is great.
But I will tell you, the minute, the second that we have money to hire an actual editor, buddy.
Yeah. Then we can go back to times like these and be like, God, what were we thinking?
Yeah, what idiots were we? No, do you have any closing? I've talked most of this, so I need you to.
Well, the whole episode was about basically what's the secret. Dads think they don't open up enough, so we don't really know a lot of the secrets, but we told ours. The imposter syndrome thing. Other dads feel like they're walking around faking it too. Probably. That's my closing argument. Your fear is probably wrong.
I would agree with that. But while the whole episode was me just telling people you need to be able to get in touch with your feelings and talk to people, you will probably think you're doing a worse job than you actually are. I do all the time. And then I have people look at me and go, "You're such a good dad." And I'm like,
self-evaluation time. Am I a good dad?
At the end of the day, I think the main thing to just recognize and understand for everyone is if you're doing the best you can for your kids, it'll all work out. If you're doing what's right for your children, if you're helping them become functional adults, and if you're not sure if you're doing that, think back to the things that you wish were different about the way you came up, because everybody has them.
Yeah.
Everybody has those. Think back. Go, man.
It's a good starting point.
What did I wish my parents did differently? And it can't be like let you eat shitty food and smoke cigarettes at 10 years old or whatever. It has to be like, maybe didn't hit me or whatever.
Starting with something even better.
Yeah. But just assess yourself. That's the whole thing. That is the actual secret.
That's where it starts. Like we said, being aware of your faults and being aware of what you're doing wrong.
Learning how to assess your...
But you got to do something about it from there. You can't just be like, all right, I'm aware. I've done my good.
Exactly. Because that is one thing that I do sometimes. So I'll be like, I noticed that thing about me. Anyways.
I'm aware that I don't talk to my kids enough about my intentions and what I'm thinking. But I'm not going to go talk to them. At least I'm aware, though.
Because
can't do that.
Gay.
Yeah.
Also, by the way, for the record, if you are gay, that's cool. We love you.
Oh, yeah.
And
I guess if you are gay and have children and you're talking to your kids, it's technically gay.
So. It's actually gay.
Yeah.
So good job.
So I guess
you get your gay points.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you're disgusted by the thought of gay parents, go to therapy. And this is obviously not the podcast for you. Let's be clear about that. We
At least you're drawing the lines clearly now, and you're just no need to read the subtext or anything. You're just like, you know what? I just got to draw the line.
I've done it on a few things.
Yeah.
I've done it on a few things where, like, you know,
that brings it back to being. See, you're a good dad because you're transparent and you're laying it all out there. That's what you got to do with your kids.
I'm transparent on the podcast,
Except,
incredibly vague with my children.
And you don't have to go on government diatribes with your kids, though. But we are saying be open with them.
Right. Yeah. I don't. For the record, I don't go on government diatribes with my children yet.
Yeah.
I'll wait until they're a little more developed.
I think next year your oldest will be very good enough. He'll be good.
Teach him,
old enough,
military tactics and how to survive in the wilderness.
Slip the anarchist cookbook into his book bag.
Be like, remember, spread this knowledge. Okay, wherever you go. No, I don't want my kids to grow. Like, I'm paranoid as shit all the time. I'm constantly waiting for the floor to fall out. So I don't want my kids to be like this. So I'm not going to talk politics with them. Which, hey, lesson learned from this podcast, right?
Yeah.
Guys, this one got heavy, and I'm really sorry.
You're making it heavier by apologizing.
No.
Stand on business.
They deserve, like, I don't think anybody walked into this comedy podcast and was like, man, some dude's going to tell me his horrific life story and then tell me to get in touch with my emotions.
There's some clips in there. We'll be good. Yeah. We can still trick people into thinking it was a comedy episode.
It was a funny one.
I did that assessment already. We're good.
And, hey, if you've watched this far, obviously you're into it or listened to this far. Like and subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, whatever, if there's a place to give us a review, leave us a review.
We won't even tell you how many stars to give or whether to be positive or negative.
Yeah, leave a positive or negative review on the podcast app. Like, subscribe. You've already watched us far in. We appreciate all the support. It means a lot. So thank you guys. Continue to support, continue to share. That's the best thing you can do for us now. We are not taking any form of money yet. So maybe
from anywhere.
So maybe at some point soon we can start doing some merch or something like that if we get enough interest in that. But I think for now, the best thing you can do to help us is just give us your honest opinions, comment on our stuff, share, like us on our socials, because any little thing like that helps expand our reach, right?
Yeah.
And it helps put us in front of other people. I've noticed the algorithm for YouTube's been throwing our videos out a lot more since we started getting an uptick in subscribers. So, that subscriptions for sure help us a lot. But again, reviews on all the podcast apps, positive or negative. I'm not going to tell you how many stars. Just
help us in the fight against big algorithm.
That's right. Yeah, big algorithm and big review.
We can take on the machine together.
But yeah, I think it's a good stopping point for me.
Good episode. Very open.
Very
about
good.
dad stuff. Stayed on topic.
Loved it.
Great job.
All right, man. Well, we will see you guys next week.
Goodbye.